All right, here it is. Chords, 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 chords. I think in every single one of my videos I mention chords. The truth is, and this is my opinion, but this is how I see the truth, the best guitar players in the world are extremely mindful of their chord progressions. There's this myth that happens in guitar land where we think that lead guitar players are just at will calling upon notes, and they know their notes in their head, and their fingers can magically find it. I don't find that to be true. I have met one person in my entire life that can pull that off. One person, okay, and he was amazing at it, and can do it from extremely young age, from when he was like 5 years old. And I don't think I'm describing you, and I'm not describing me. Okay. When you're playing guitar, you don't close your eyes and call upon the notes. You close your eyes and you picture your chords. And the more and more you do this, it's kind of like driving. Okay, when you learn to drive, you're like this, right? Like 10 and 2, and oh my gosh, and rearview mirror and 3-point, and was it a parallel parking? And you're like, oh my god. And as you drive and drive more, you go from this to this to this to this to this, and you get so used to it. And it's the same thing with guitar. To be a great soloing guitar player and improviser, and to understand how to write melodies, you have to understand how chords work on the guitar. So I'm going to introduce to you today my take on what a lot of people will call the caged chord system. I have a different name for it. I call it the caged root system. I think it fits the concept better. And for all you guys that just went, oh, I know this, I find that you might not, the way I teach it. So if we know the caged chord system, this is going to be video number 1 of understanding how chords work. I need to make parts 2 through however long it goes. But let's start with a simple concept. All right, caged chord system. You're going to learn 8 chords today, and they are totally movable and pretty important. So let's talk about the caged chord system. Now, some of you might have seen videos, some of you might have heard it, some of you have a general idea, and if you do know this, again, this is part 1, but if this is new to you, this will blow your mind. All right, here we go. Caged chord system. C-A-G-E-D. It's very simple. I call it the caged root note system, but we'll get there. So the whole method behind the madness, and by the way, for people who, well, side project, for people who like put down the caged chord system, they have no idea how guitar works. Like, honestly, they don't. And I feel bad because it's like everything on how guitar works, and it's my job to show you. So here we go. You have a C chord. Volume. C chord. Okay, if you look at this note, if you look at this chord here, we have 2 root notes, 2 distinct root notes. You have a C here on the 3rd fret, and you have C here on the 1st fret of the B. Now you have to remember this, that every chord has a root note somewhere near the bridge, somewhere near the nut, and somewhere near the bridge. This is your bridge here, and this is your nut. So every chord has a nut side root note and a bridge side root note. We're going to use this fact to connect our chords. So the C shape always connects to your A-shaped chord. If you played an A chord here, if you look here, this is an A chord. But your first finger, if you were to play this nut, you'd look like this. And you've seen that bar chord before. That's an A-shaped bar chord. If you have a C here, this C, you put your first finger on that root note and you play this A-shaped chord. These are 2 C chords. Okay, these are 2 C chords. C-shaped to A-shaped. We're going to spell the word caged. C-A-G. Well, after that, your root note here, by the way, so you have this is now your nut side root note, and your bridge side root note is a 5th fret G string. These are all C's. C, 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 C. Go slow. All right. Now, we're going to connect it to the next shape, which is G. So you take your first finger and put it right where your ring finger is. Boom. And there's that root note. Okay, you're going to bar it. Now, there's two ways to play a G-shaped chord. You can put your pinky up on the high E string and play from the D string down, or you can keep your first finger there and you put your pinky on the 8th fret of the E string, and then you put your ring finger on the 7th fret of the A, and you can strum the first 5 strings. If you look here, if this is my nut, you can see this is very hard to do. Okay, there's my G chord shape. So I have a C chord shape that connects to my A chord shape. These are all C chords, and then you put your first finger here, and now you have your G chord shape. These are all C chords. Here is my bridge side root note, and up here is my nut side root note. Okay, this G shape connects to your E shape chord. All right, and there's my standard bar chord, E shape. You can see it's like the nut and then E shape, nut, E shape. So my nut side root note is here, and my bridge side root note is there with my pinky. Your pinky is the root note. You take your first finger, you're going to put it on where your pinky was. That's your 10th fret. Now the D shape chord, by the way, we're spelling out the shapes. C shape connects to A shape, connects to G shape, connects to E shape, and now we're going to connect it to a D shape. Now we play a modified D shape. It's incredibly hard to play fast, like so. I modified the shape. If you put your first finger where your pinky is, that's your root note. Boom. Remember to use the rewind button if this moves too fast. There's my root note. That is a C. Now, if this was the nut of the guitar, you can see that my ring finger and pinky, like I can make a D chord like that. So it'll be 12, 12, 13, 12. That's hard to get. So what I'm going to do is play the 12th fret, 10th fret of the D, 12th fret of the G, 13th fret of the B, and I can take my first finger and I can actually bar it from the A string over. And that's your D-shaped chord. So here we have 5 shapes of chords all connecting. They're all C chords. C chord connects to A chord, connects to G chord. Sorry, shapes. C chord connects to the A shape, connects to the G shape, connects to the E shape, and it connects to the D shape. And then that D shape, you get it, comes back around, connects to the C shape. But here's my root note here, and this stands for every single time that you play this, what I'm about to play, you have to do this. The root note is here, and I've been taking your first finger and putting on the root note, but when you're connecting the shapes, when D connects to C, you put your first finger behind where your root note is. See that? So you see my ring finger? So my root note's 13th fret, you put your first finger on the 12th fret there, and then you make a C-shaped chord. Okay? And you're back to your C shape. So you have 5. Okay, these are both G shapes. You can pick one of the 2. You have 5 shapes of chords you can play any chord in. So if you're in a band, somebody's doing this, you can sit and, okay, I'm going to do this one. You want to be very, very mindful of your root notes and where they are. This helps you learn the fretboard. Now, this is just part 1, so let's just start on a different chord. It always connects in the same order, okay? And you got to practice this. This is huge, all right? The CAGED chord system is probably the most powerful thing to help put everything together on the guitar, all right? And if you want to jam in terms of Grateful Dead, Fish, Allman Brothers, or any other jam bands out there, this is how you want to do it, all right? So we have an A chord, all right? So C, A, G, okay? So this is A shape, and my root note is here on the G string. Sorry, yeah, here on the G string. So you put your first finger on that root note, and we're going to play a G-shaped chord. You can play it like this, or you can play it like this. All right, very simple. It's a G-shaped chord just from earlier. And now there's my root note where my pinky is, and G connects to E. Put your first finger where your pinky was, and play your E-shaped bar chord. This also is an A chord. You have an A chord A shape, A chord G shape, A chord E shape. Your pinky is the root note, just like we did before, and now you put your first finger where the pinky is, and you're going to play that modified D shape. In this case, it would be 7, 9, 10. You can put your first finger and cover the A string as well. That's your D-shaped chord. It's still an A chord, but it's a D shape. And you take, when you're connecting again, when you're taking your D shape, connecting it to your C shape again, you don't go where your root note is this time, you go 1 fret behind where that ring finger is, and you go there, and you play your C shape chord. And there's your A chord. And there's my root note, okay? And you put your first finger where your pinky was, and you play an A-shaped chord. There it is. So, the CAGED chord system, this is just part 1. This is just how they connect. There is so much more to do, okay? The CAGED root system or chord system, for now, is just how to connect your 5 shapes of chords that connect all the way down the guitar neck, okay? If I did an E-shaped chord, C, A, G, E. E connects to D on that root note there. There's my D chord, D-shaped chords. These are all G chords, okay? Okay, there's my root note there. So when I'm connecting my D shape back to my C shape, I got to use this note to put my first finger in. That's a C-shaped G chord. Bam, 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 bam. C shape connects to A shape on that root note there. And that's my A-shaped G chord. You can do this for anything. If any of you guys are familiar with the band Dave Matthews Band, he has this a song called Crash. Just, yeah. That is my D-shaped E chord. I'll show you where it comes from. You have an E chord, you have a root note here, and a root note here. And this is the root note that we connect our next shape on, the D shape. So put your first finger there, play that D shape I showed you, 2, 4, 5, and there is where he gets that chord shape from. It's not magic. All right, so I'm on this D-shaped chord, and it's an E chord because that's where we started. And there's my root note. But when you're connecting the D shape to the E shape, you put it where your ring finger is, and you put your first finger where your ring finger was, and you play your C-shaped chord. For my fish fans, this is the first chord of Gotta Jaboo. Anyway, we left off here. Okay, this is your C-shaped E chord. There's my root note. We're going to connect the C, connects to the A shape always. Put your first finger there. Play an A-shaped chord. Okay, there we go. So that's your A-shaped E chord. First chord of Good Times, Bad Times. Sorry, I love that song. All right, and then we're on our A-shaped chord, C, A, G. Okay, so we're going to use the bridge side root note to connect. We're going to put your first finger there. You can play this G-shaped chord or this G-shaped chord. All right, so practice connecting your chords. I hope, if you didn't know this, I hope this blew your mind. If you do know this, this is really just the tip of the iceberg, okay? So you have major chords, okay? So by the way, those are 5 chords. I only told you 5 chord shapes. I didn't tell you about the minors, okay? These are majors. All right, so C major to C major to C major to C major to C major and G to G. Let's just talk about, there's 3 minor chord shapes, all right, really quickly, and I'm not going to introduce them to you in terms of the CAGED chord system right now, but they are part of it, and it's very simple to understand. We have 3 usable, right now as, I'm probably going to crap on for this one. There are 5 minor chord shapes, but we're going to use 3 practical ones right now, very, very simply. If you've played guitar before, you know 2 of these, okay? So let's go on the 5th fret. You see this minor chord that we play all the time? This is an E minor shaped chord. If that were the nut, this is your E minor shape. See it? Like that. E minor shape. But this is the root note, so this is an A minor. All right, very simple. And then your A minor shape. So here's your A minor chord. I'm playing without my first finger, so you can see. And then I can take that chord, and if I make this the nut and play an A minor, this is the root notes. This is your D minor. And then the third one that we use is our D minor shaped chord. Okay? That D is the root note, so if you put your first finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and we can replicate that shape, it looks like this. If this was the nut, this would be a D minor. It's 5, 7, 8, 6. 5, 7, 8, 6. And that's a minor chord whose root note is here. So this is a G, by the way, so this is G minor. For the Grateful Dead fans, put your first finger on the 9th fret there and play that D minor chord shape like this. Okay, so it's 9, 11, 12, 10. This is the first chord to Althea. Oh, wow. So, man, do I suck right now? Okay, so there it is. Anyway, you have 5 major chords that connect down the fretboard. Practice them, learn them, gather questions. Hold on to your questions for part 2, all right? And practice your minor chord shapes. I hope this all made sense. I hope this worked. This is just basic understanding how your chords connect so you can play all different voicings, part of the CAGED chord / CAGED root system. I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to end here. Just study this. There'll be a lot more to come. All right, guys. Bye-bye.